Come back to school when you feel healthy enough. All right. But now let's move on so we can potentially go watch the. Well, it won't even be the end of the match by the time we get off. But they were about at 20 minutes when I just left the game. Anyone want to read so you don't have to listen to me? Go ahead, Bradley.
When banks lend money, they charge interest, which is a fee for letting the borrower use the money. Interest is usually expressed as a percent of the amount borrowed and is added to the amount that the borrower owes. For example, the bank might charge someone 8% annually, yearly interest rate for borrowing $500. In addition, you might have money in a savings account. Banks generally pay interest to you on the money in that account. So by leaving your money in the bank, you can earn more money. Money.
So, interest is money on money. Either extra money that you have to pay back on money that you borrowed, or extra money that you get because you invested your money. So what we're going to talk about today is called simple interest, and not simple as in like the E word, but simple versus compound, right? So there are two types of interest, simple versus compound. We don't want to talk about compound today.
I'm not talking about it.
Okay. You got 20 seconds because we got a soccer match to get to.
So during COVID, I went over to my grandparents' house, and so my grandpa was like all about stocks and like things like that. So he gave us a bunch of lessons about compound and simple.
If you like invest $100 right now and leave it in an account, like it could grow to be something really big because of interest. Zach?
Wouldn't you also lose money because of inflation?
Not necessarily. So it depends on what type of account. So, but you're right. Inflation over the past few years has been worse than what it has been in a while. But if you invest in the right kind of account, it grows with inflation. Like when inflation happens, your money grows with it. So, and actually, like, think about $100 today put in the bank is not $100 3 years from now because you put it in today, right? So even though $100 3 years from now will be worth less, you already had that money put away. Does that make sense? Like, and it's growing. So, like, if it only stayed at $100, you're right, you would lose money, quote unquote. All right, so check this out. This is on your paper. I want you to read through this on your own and highlight what is important. So on your paper, highlight, underline, whatever, but you should have enough highlighters.
This is Mr. Becker.
Because I changed it on our worksheet just for fun.
Did he like become trans?
Oh, Mr. Beck used to be our like little student council dude thing, whatever, but now we don't really have a student council. We just had like a little student advisor. If you guys want to make one, but normally like Phoenix isn't big enough to really need one.
We Phoenix.
We cool. We are the student council.
Yeah, like we're not that big. Guys, student forum is when we do like student council type stuff, right? Like that's what student forum does. So, Violet, can you tell me one thing you highlighted? Nope. Noah, nope. Lucy, can you tell me one thing you highlighted here? 2% simple interest. And Rand, you want to give me something else?
What?
That you highlighted.
I highlighted
$825. Now down here, we take those things that we highlighted and we give you some information. So I also want you to come down here and highlight 825 is called the principal amount. Not principal as in Mr. Flynn. Principal as in what you start with. So a principal is like a beginning amount. Whatever you borrow or whatever you invest, where it starts, that's your principal. Now, what's weird here is rates can happen weekly, like this situation. Rates could happen daily. Rates could happen actually continuously. Right? There's actually a type of interest called continuously compounded. Real complicated. We're not talking about that stuff today. We're talking about the simple interest today. So, how much money will the PTA charge each week? Turn to your neighbor, calculate this. Grab a calculator if you need, but you probably don't. I bet you could figure this out on your own. And then if the student council borrows the $825, how much will it owe after 1 week, after 3 weeks, and then 8 weeks. So figure out all three of these parts. A and B kind of go directly together, right? A and B kind of go directly together. 2% each week. We've got our 10% rule. I think a couple of us yesterday were talking about like a 1% rule potentially. And guys, the reason I'm writing on paper and not up on the smartboard is so that when your friends come back, I can hand them a page done, right? Which I could only do it twice yesterday, so I forget if I handed Sam a done page or not. But I try to, like, when you're sick, I try to have one ready to hand to you. Soph, what are you going to do to solve? Sorry, I'm probably not giving you guys quite enough time, but I'm trying to move quick because I know there's soccer to watch. Soph, what are you going to do to find out our weekly amount that PTA charges us?
Times 825 by 0.02.
So we could, if we want to like write out the math of it, do 0.02 times 825. Can anyone tell
Actually,
me?
wait, no, I have a better. Wait, can I say?
Go ahead.
You times it by 0.01, which is like you just move the decimal point over,
Boom,
and
boom,
then
ba,
you
boom.
times that by 2.
So Soph realized we could also say that 1% is $8.25, meaning that 2% would be $16.50. Right? So if the PTA borrowed $8.25, how much will it owe after 1 week though? So we could make a little table here. So after 0 weeks, right, when we get the loan, this is when things start at 0, we would owe $825 back to the PTA. After 1 week, we said how much extra?
16.5.
An extra $16.50. So after 1 week, it's $800, I think $41.50. We could do this after 2 weeks. After 3. Now wait a minute. Then it jumps all the way up to 8 weeks.
We can do that.
So I'm going to give you guys another minute or two. And you could organize it in a table if you want. You could grab a calculator if you think you need. Sure, that's fine. Caden not here, right? Are we? I thought. No, maybe Caden's supposed to be by you, Soph, isn't he? Okay. Adele, how are you gonna deal with this? Like, what are you gonna do to find this answer? Still working on the equation. Zach, you got this figured out yet?
Am I figuring what they have to pay back for 8 weeks?
Yeah, how we're gonna do it. Not just the answer, but how did you do it?
I did $16.50 times 8 because it's 8 weeks.
So that's $16.50 times 8, since that's every week, so $132.
And then the initial $8.25.
And the initial $8.25, which we can call principal, right? So $957.
I did it with a calculator just because it makes it quicker.
Yeah, that's, I said grab a calculator if you want. Absolutely.
I know I could do it in my head, but I don't feel like doing
So another thing that you'll need if you're going to throw a party is a DJ. Unfortunately, DJ Hubcap's out of town, so the PTA needs to hire a DJ.
No, come on.
And this DJ, guys, DJs are kind of expensive if you pay for them.
Oh, yeah.
$1,000 for the DJ and the photographer. They come as a package deal, right? You get a DJ and a photographer. So they're also going to get charged 2% simple interest on this loan. What's 2% of 1,000?
20.
How'd you figure that out so quickly, Bryson?
Well, I put the decimal back forward 2, and then I multiplied 10 by 2.
So if we move the decimal back, why'd you do that?
Well, because then, since that's 100%, if I move it 1 is 10%, if I move it another, it's 1%.
Yeah, that's our 1%
I just have to
rule.
multiply it by 2.
And then he doubled. So we'll get charged $20 each week for the PTA or for the DJ and the photographer. So PTA decided to cover its costs. They actually only need $18 each week paid back by you guys. What percent should they charge you for that to actually be just $18 a week? So we said 10. So we said 1% would be 10. Okay, we said 1% was $10. Val?
1.8%.
How'd you figure that out?
By looking how 2% is 20,
Yeah.
and then just putting that back until I got 18.
Yeah, Val's saying like 2% was 20, we want 18, so like I knew 1% was. Now I could also break this down like even further. I know 1% is $10, but I could do like what is $5, is 0.5%, right? A lot of different ways we can look at this. I forget how many questions we have about this party. Not very many.
Yay.
So guys, this is how this looks when we break it down. Simple interest is called simple because it does the same thing over and over. Right? So 1875, if that is our interest. No, wait a minute. 1250.
Wait, what?
What do you 1250 for?
Where did 1000?
Oh, the PTA will not loan the full 1825 requested.
Ah, we asked for too much. We asked for too much. So they said they'll only loan us 1250.
What about the
But
other one?
they'll loan us 1250, and they're gonna charge 1875 each week.
That's a lot.
Well, is it? Like, let's.
For a thousand.
So I want you guys to figure out. Hold on. Figure what is 1875? What percent is that? Versus if they're loaning us 1250 and they're charging us 1875. Talk with your neighbor. How could you figure out what percent that is?
I don't have a neighbor.
Val, what's funny is when you raised your hand, your card was next. Like, you were the one who was going to get called. Sam, you had your hand up, and ironically, your card is next. Do you got a thought about what we could do here? Still thinking? Nick? How'd you figure that out? Okay.
That percent, which was so the increase was 1.5 times bigger, but also 1% of 1250 is like $12.50.
Yeah, we can always think back to our like 1% rule, right? Move that decimal. So 1250. How much more gets tacked on? Well, another 625, and if we compare these, oh, well, that kind of jumps out at us when we write things down. You're like, oh, well, that kind of jumps out. But guys, the other way that you can always find any percent, part divided by whole, then times 100, because we need to make it into percent. 1.5. So there are many ways to get to Florida, right? But you could make a note on your paper if you want to that anytime we're looking for a percent, if you're trying to calculate a percent, you can do part divided by whole times 100. Part divided by whole times 100. Sam.
So I wasn't really thinking at the time, but so while Nick was explaining it, I was like doing it in my head, and I was like, oh, I'm like, you have to multiply by 0.01.
But there's a lot of right ways. Remember,
So I
like,
forgot
all
the
because
other
somebody did it
sense.
differently.
So I forgot their sense too.
Yeah, you're good.
So I'm like,
So if I come down here to week 4, and I'm going to try to calculate how much they owe after 4 weeks, am I going to do 1250 plus 1875 plus 1875 plus 1875 plus 1875? What would make more sense?
What if we just add them all
Lucy?
together?
18.75 times 4.
Oh, so I could actually just like multiply by the time. So I could say whatever my weekly loan like interest times how many times. Oh, so you mean like there's a better way? Oh, that makes
You
sense.
could just insert X.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can just make it an X equation.
And then
18.75x plus 1,000.
and then we can say any amount of weeks, right? Any amount of weeks we would be able to calculate. What?
Did you see that?
What?
Everybody started cheering.
Well, okay, great. We're in math class right now. Maybe they were cheering for us.
Maybe they're cheering.
Hey, if you act a fool, you're getting sent back to here. If you cheer for Iran, apparently Mr. Kabila is going to kick you out. If you don't care about soccer, you are welcome to just do your homework. That's everything I needed to teach you today. Hold up. If you are one of the people that wants the formal, there's got to be an equation. There's got to be a thing that I can just type in my calculator. Yeah, this is the equation for simple interest. You don't need to memorize it yet. What you need to know is how to do problems like what we just did, and you're good. So even if you're going to go watch soccer, I would say if you're behind on homework, catch up on homework. If you need to do revisions, do some revisions. But for the next 20 minutes, we can go watch the game if you guys would like.
Take a while to get